You want to support Roland Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. Over the weekend, the folks who Revolt had a summit that took place in Atlanta. On that particular panel, it was a host of people who were on there, moderated by Jeff Johnson, included Katrina Pearson and Candace Owens, two Trump supporters, as well as Killer Mike and T.I. as well, and Tamika Mallory. And so it was quite interesting because, first of all, a lot of people on social media were talking about it this weekend, this whole, in terms of how everything panned out. And so I said, you know what? Let's chat about it. First off, though, I want to play you a portion of that conversation where things got a wee bit heated. And because what I want to deal with is the issue, do we really need to engage crazy black conservatives? Black conservatives who, frankly, have lost their minds and who really don't make any sense whatsoever. Because I know lots of black conservatives, but I know a lot of them with brains, unlike these two who were on the panel. You guys see my iPad right now? Okay, all right, y'all. So here's an excerpt of that summit over the weekend.
Different than the fear that Trump has created in poor whites. The fear that Trump has lifted in poor whites, that black people and poor urban people are their problem.
Right. When did Trump ever say that? That's a fallacy. When did Trump ever say black people are the problem?
Make America great again. That's when he said it.
Guys,
but I'm not on the panel, so I want to make sure.
That was Ronald Reagan's slogan. Was that racist when Ronald Reagan had it as a slogan?
Yes, what time?
It was.
Yes, let me ask you.
So that
please
slogan
answer this.
is racist.
Please answer this. I have a question.
Wait.
Please just allow me just one outburst. Please. I have a question. When you say make America great again, which period are we talking about? The period when women couldn't vote? The period when we were hanging from trees?
I'll answer.
Or like the crack era? Which period in America are you trying to make America like again?
So I actually think that I would totally rock a hat right now that said make Black America great again. Because Black America.
Make America. We're talking about make America. That wasn't the question.
I am answering your question.
Which period was America great that we're trying to replicate? Which era was it? Tell me.
I think I'll answer your question.
Tell me.
I'm ready to answer your question.
Which era was it?
What?
Which era was so great?
Here's the thing that you guys are forgetting. America was actually one of the slavery was all over the world. All over the world. America was. No, I'm not saying it's okay. So why are you saying oh?
Hey man.
America was one of the first countries.
I want to like you so bad.
I'm trying to answer your question.
Smart. I want to like you so much.
I can't answer the question.
I want to hear you. I want to be able to hear them. I want to be able to hear them.
If I can't answer the question and you're just going to boo when I say slavery was all over the world, which is a fact, why are you booing a fact?
Because you're making light of.
No, I'm not.
You're making light of the enslavement of people that look like us. You can't make light of that. That ain't nothing you breeze over.
I haven't even finished the sentence. How am I making light of anything?
You started with some bullshit.
Okay.
All right, y'all. So let me share a few thoughts, okay? Do I believe in Black America we need to have real, honest, truthful conversations on these issues between Black conservatives and Black progressives and Black liberals and Black independents? Yes, I do. But we must have these conversations with real black conservatives, with black people who actually care about the black community. I'll give you an example. On this show, on my TV One show, News One Now, Washington Watch, so going back to 2009, and actually my whole career, I have known a host of black conservatives. Alphonso Jackson, who was, of course, the HUD Secretary under President George W. Bush. Michael Williams, who served under Reagan and Bush as well, was the former Texas Education Commissioner. You have former Congressman J.C. Watts. You have Elroy Saylor, who was his chief of staff. You have Angela Saylor, his wife, who's a number 2 at the Heritage Foundation. You have Kay Adams, Kay, of course, who is Kay Cole, who's over at the Heritage Foundation. I mean, I could go down the line. And let me just be real clear with y'all. Real black conservatives have no respect whatsoever for charlatans like Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson, because they know they're fraudulent. And see, the reality is those two, they actually won't come to places like this and have real debates. See, what they want is they want that show. What they want is they want the show to be on a stage with a Killer Mike or a T.I. in front of Diddy and Revolt, because, see, that's all they actually care about. They don't actually care about the black community. See, part of the problem here, and Killer Mike addressed it later, and I have some issues with him and the N-word and all of that, but I ain't gonna get into that. But part of the problem here is that when you hear people talk about, well, if you slamming Trump, that means you supporting Democrats. No, it means I'm slamming Trump. See, I have no respect for any black conservative who can't call out voter suppression. I have no respect for any black conservative who can't recognize racial gerrymandering. I have no respect when you have black conservatives who don't want to be honest about exactly what's going on. See, even if you support Trump and you make an actual argument as to why you support Trump, all right, okay, that's fine. But then when you're unwilling to actually explain that and how it somehow helps the black community, makes no sense to me. I mean, over the weekend, Mark Lamont Hill and others were back and forth with actor Isaiah Washington, who said he's voting for Donald 45 because of his policies. They simply asked what policies benefited black people. And then he's like, well, why are you calling me out on Twitter? You should call me directly. They're like, well, because you posted on Twitter, so we gonna ask you on Twitter. Kind of makes sense to me. See, what y'all need to understand, and again, I saw all this back and forth on social media. Roland, man, you got to talk about it. Man, you got to see this whole deal. Y'all, I've been to those sort of discussions before. And what they are designed, not for us, I dare say for Jeff and for Killer Mike and T.I. and Tamika Mallory, that panel wasn't about show and tell. It wasn't about entertainment. It wasn't about, oh, man, we had that thing going. No, what it actually was about was entertainment. Because, see, that's all they're interested in. They're not actually interested in doing things to improve black America. They want the show. That's what it's all about. And so those of us who do this for a living, we know that game. We know it's all about the show. I remember I was on CNN in 2008 or so. And that was a black pastor who was we were on together. And it was real interesting. We were talking about Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and some other stuff along those lines. And while I'm talking to you, I'm actually looking for it. And we got into it. And this black pastor was saying all kind of stuff. And, you know, he was just all hyped. Now, y'all, I knew it was fraudulent. I knew what he was doing. So you know what ended up happening? He then, in the green room, says, man, you know what? We need to get together and do this more because it's a whole lot of money out here. Did y'all hear what I said? It's a whole lot of money out here. See, you have a group of black folks on the conservative side, that's what it's about. Let me just be real clear with y'all. If I chose, with my skill set, with how I debate, with how I communicate, if I chose to be a black, self-hating, slamming black people, touting a conservative agenda, I can tell you right now, I probably will be worth about $20 to $40 million. Let me unpack that. I'll be worth that because that's what you really have going on here, folks. It's a game. And see, people like Katrina Pearson and people like Candace Owens have no interest in having real discussions with black people about actual policy because they would be exposed for their nonsense every single day. See, when you hear all the people right now talk about Trump and the First Step Act, okay, I'll give you an example. At best, it's about 7,000 people. Some say upwards of 20,000 people are going to be impacted by the First Step Act. Nobody has given me a racial breakdown, so all 7,000 to 20,000 are not African American. But let's say it's 60% of the 7,000. All right, not a problem. Okay, so what are we talking about? 4,800 people, maybe about 5,000 people. That's about it, right? You do realize that 90% of the people who are in prison are on the state and local level. Now, when Donald Trump touts the First Step Act, when people like Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson tout the First Step Act, what they overlook, then they'll throw in, oh, look at black unemployment. Oh, look at what he's done for HBCUs. Here's what they won't say. They won't say how he wants to get rid of the Minority Supply Development Agency. They won't say how Jeff Sessions ordered federal prosecutors to forget the Eric Holder era rules and prosecute to the highest levels. They won't mention Trump reinstated private prisons on the federal level. They won't mention the Department of Justice said we don't want to have any consent decrees. They tried to get out of the one in Baltimore and out of the one in Chicago. They won't mention any of those things. They won't mention the fact that the Department of Justice has done nothing when it comes to enforcing the Voting Rights Act and really dealing with the whole issue of police misconduct all across this country. They won't mention the fact that under the Department of HUD, and in Housing, Health and Human Services, and in Commerce, and in every federal agency, they're rolling back civil rights protections in all of those. So while people like Candace Owens and Katrina Pearson and supporters like that might mention one or two things, I'll over here list 10, 12 things that are detrimental to black folks. They won't address those things. What I need y'all to understand is, and a lot of y'all, and trust me, I've challenged Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens to debate anytime, anywhere. And in fact, Alveda King, I ran into her daughter, I think, in Atlanta at the Rolling Out Summit I was at, where she said she wants to put this thing together. I said, boo, they're not going to debate a brother like me because, see, they can't handle this level of heat. I ain't going to bring smoke. I'm going to bring heat, okay? What they want to do is they want the show. What a Candace wants to do is repeat the same 2 or 3 or 4 talking points. And you heard T.I. say, you know, I want to like you because you're smart. She actually is not smart. She's really not. Because, in fact, I've had black conservatives who have told me, she's called them and said, I don't know much about this policy stuff. Y'all need to know when you're getting played. Y'all need to know when somebody is trying to play the game and gaming you, and who they really gaming are those dumb white conservatives who keep throwing money at them, saying, that's it, we found our black woman. Because the reality is, and y'all, and I've seen this, white conservatives have no issue throwing money at black people who are going to say nasty things about black people and tell us get off the plantation and tired of sitting here being somebody's massa. We all know the game. And so if y'all enjoyed the conversation, that's great. If you were entertained by it all, that's great. Were there things in that conversation that are worth us talking about and exploring? Absolutely. But if we're going to do this, let's do it with people who are at the table, who are real, who are substantive, who know what the hell they're talking about, and who are not just trying to sit here and say stupid stuff because it's all about how can I say the craziest thing and keep getting those checks rolling in the same way Larry Elder has done, the same way Deneen Borelli has done, the same way Jesse Lee Peterson has done, and I can go on and on. And hell, I can name for y'all some of the black people who were liberals who flipped to the conservative side thinking they were going to cash in, and guess what? They even got exposed. Even conservatives were like, okay, yeah, some of y'all are frauds. Game recognized game. And I just want y'all to understand that. Joining us right now, of course, is Teresa Lundy, principal founder of TML Communications, Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, political analyst, as well as Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor, Environmental Justice, EPA. See, initially I was not going to talk about this, but I need to talk about this because, again, I think, and what happens is, and I get it with that crowd, how they responded, and people sitting here, they were jumping up, and they were talking about what went on. But I need them to understand what the game is, because I'll show you. I'm going to advance it here, and after T.I. made his comment, go to my iPad. I want y'all just to watch the crowd.
The fact? Why are you doing a fact?
Because you're making light of.
No, I'm not.
You're making light
I
of
haven't
the
gotten to my points.
enslavement
I'm not
of
making
people that look like us. You can't make light of that. That ain't nothing
I
you
haven't
breeze
even
over.
finished the sentence. How am I making
You
light of
started
anything?
with some bullshit.
Okay.
Teresa, that's what they want. They want the show. And they want to be able to go back to their white conservative friends. See, we went into the enemy territory, and you saw how we got treated and how the audience were all against us. This is a game. They are not serious about the black community.
I think it's two parts to that. I think that entire Revolt Summit, because I also watched it, right? And I think and I'm glad you started off with that commentary because it was so important. Because when we start talking about what makes sense for the black agenda and black America, and for those who really don't understand what politics or government actually looks like outside of listening to T.I.'s lyrics or Killer Mike, and they're just, listening to the impoverished lyrics, but they're not listening to some of the elected leaders who are coming forth with legislation and different plans. I think more so this panel should have more so touched on the entire detrimental facts that affects black people, right? Because a lot of people don't know, some of those cause and effects. And if they did, I do believe the conversations would be greater, and a woman like Candace Owens wouldn't be able to go to a Revolt Summit and say, well, I can't really talk about what Trump did because...
No, they can't. I mean, Mustafa, they can't talk about the environmental dangers. You can't talk about how he's destroyed the USDA. They can't talk about the scientists who have left. And again, let me be clear. I'm not criticizing the summit. Revolt should be doing it. I'm not even criticizing having the conversation. What I'm saying is, because let me also be clear. Y'all heard me say on this show, we as black people have to have alliances among black conservatives, because if you have, in the case right now, Dems control the House, Republicans control the Senate, all right? The reality is, in a moment, I'm going to be talking with Congresswoman Alma Adams, who is the co-founder of the HBCU caucus, who is the co-chair of that with the Republican in North Carolina, whose wife is a graduate of Winston-Salem State. So let me be real clear. In states across this country, Republicans control the governor's mansion, the House, and the Senate. Black folks, we are constituents. We need to be having relationships on that side, because there are going to be issues where we do agree, or we have to work with folks on the other aisle. What I am saying is there are a host of real black conservatives in this country who actually talk to black people, who actually sit with black people, but you have like these two, they don't talk with black people. Okay, they're not trying to actually, how do we find common ground with black people? Their whole deal is how loud and wild can I be in trumpeting Trump to get folks all mad and excited, and then go back to their safe white spaces and say, ooh, see what happened when we went there? They're not serious, actually, about our community.
Exactly. I've worked with black conservatives on policy, those who are serious. So you've got that set of folks, but you also have a set of folks that we're talking about who invest in and who support buffoonery. And they like these types of things because it takes people away from the actual impacts that are happening inside of their lives. They want a reaction from you. So imagine if that sister said whatever she was trying to say, and folks were educated in the audience. There probably were educated people who were there.
Absolutely.
But if folks understood the basic, the top 5 or 7 things you need to know around housing, around transportation, around the fact of unemployment. So it's always interesting when we talk about this full employment, but then when you unpack that and you see the types of jobs that your people are actually getting and that they've got to work 2 or sometimes 3 jobs just to make it to the basic lines, it changes the dynamic of that conversation. And that's where we have to get to. I appreciate the fact that you are always talking about folks need to get educated so that when you utilize your vote, it can actually be directed in a positive place that can make change happen. So that's why I don't even get down. You know, people will sell their souls for a few shillings. We've heard that, you know, growing up. And this is just another reflection of how they continue to do that.
Again, what you're dealing with here is you're dealing with the show. The show is one thing. Serious things, Avis, is another. And there are black women who I'm sure in the Black Women's Roundtable y'all work with who are black conservatives.
Absolutely.
Who are real on policy. These two are not real.
No. And these types of incidents expose that greatly. I mean, I would have been interested. I didn't watch the whole thing, so I've only seen this clip a few times. I would be interested, did she ever answer that question? Because even where she was going with that partial answer didn't make sense in that, yes, you had this transatlantic slave trade that encompassed a lot of the Caribbean, North America, South America. But guess what? America was one of the last, if not the last, nation to end slavery. So I don't even understand why
and
she's going
our
in that
form was a lot
direction.
different from other people as well.
Very different
Yes.
in terms of, you know, it was maternally passed down from generation to generation. Our form of slavery was unique and distinctive and especially brutal. And so I don't even know where she didn't even know where she was going with that answer. That was no example of America being great. Let's just put that on the table. Yeah. So, you know, I would just be interested in knowing where she would have ended up with that. It shows her ignorance. But at the end of the day, what you're saying is absolutely true. This is about her being able to get clips like this that go viral so that she can go back to the white folks who are paying her to say, look what I did, now give me some more money. Right. Because that's really what it's about.
And again, I want the audience to understand, those of us who have covered these stories for years, we know the game. Y'all, we can see them coming. I'm telling you, I've debated them who will pull you to the side and essentially say, let's take this thing on the road. Because it's all for a money grab. As opposed to those of us who are real about this, who are going, yo, I'm not trying to sit here and roll with you, because that's the deal. And in fact, that's actually the Minstrel show. All right? That's why I call out Diamond and Silk. That's a minstrel show. When you see, what's the comedian, Terrence Williams, that's a minstrel show. That's not about policy. It's a C.J. Pearson running his little mouth. Same thing, okay? What you're dealing with is you're not dealing with people who are serious, all right? There are black conservatives who I know, who I've interviewed, who I've covered, who are involved in education, who are involved in housing in different areas. And we might disagree on things, and they abhor voter suppression and some of the things that they do. You want to talk about somebody like a black Republican? Michael Steele's been on this show and talked about how he got treated when he was chairman of the Republican National Committee, where they literally had a meeting in Speaker Boehner's office and told him, look, we don't need you talking policy. We got that. You don't focus on policy. He's like, wait a minute, what the hell? I'm the chair of the Republican National Committee. Did you tell the last chair don't discuss policy? It literally told Michael Steele, look, just go on over here, we got this. And then try to change the rules where he couldn't spend he had to get permission to spend money over $5,000. Wow. Oh yeah, Michael told me. So in fact, y'all, they were so foul in 2012 at the Republican National Convention in Tampa, Reince Priebus, they had an event honoring previous Republican National Committee chairs and didn't even invite Michael Steele. Wow. Didn't even give him credentials to the convention. He had to get his credentials through MSNBC. Just so y'all understand.
Wow. And she talking about plantation.
Just so y'all understand.
Wow.
It's the game.
So what I'm trying to explain to y'all is, again, when you see people like this here, it's all about the show. Now, you might say, well, Roland, why would you want to debate Candace Owens? Because I believe you expose fraudulent folk at all times. Because see, when light hits darkness, darkness gets exposed. Y'all, they don't want real debates because they can't handle real conversation. They can't handle somebody who's going to be calm and not yelling and dropping facts on them and bringing real information that they have to answer. No, what they desire is for us to play the game. So just so y'all understand that, the reality is, in this world, there are two political parties, Republicans and Democrats. The reality is, we as black people have to be working on black interests. And that might mean working with Democrats or working with Republicans. That might mean opposing Democrats and opposing Republicans. I'm not against Republicans. What I am are against buffoonery coming out of the black Republican side. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, you heard me talking a lot about marijuanastock.org. Why? Because I want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. We've all watched the growth of the cannabis industry, folks. A recent report by the New Frontier Data estimates the global cannabis market more than $340 billion. And we know that marijuana legalization is sweeping the country state by state. We also know that marijuana has a good cousin, the hemp plant, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, that all changed with the 2018 Farm Bill, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S., creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all the plants. Folks, this is real simple, okay? And the folks at 420 Real Estate have a business model where they buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, there are hemp CBD landlords. You can get in on the action now. Of course, our folks at 420 Real Estate decided to do something special for the Roland Martin Unfiltered family. Originally, the minimum investment level was $500. Now you can get in this crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200, up to $10,000, okay? This is a growth industry that is still growing. If you want to invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Get in the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. Filtered. All right, folks, let's do a deconstruction of the GOP. And, of course, the mouthpiece, Candace Owens. Today on Capitol Hill, there was a hearing that was titled House Oversight Joint Subcommittee Hearing on Confronting White Supremacy. They had 3 experts and 1 black person. When I say experts, they actually had real experts on the subject of white supremacy and white nationalism. Now, questions were asked by Republicans and Democrats of the 4 witnesses. Now, what I'm unpacking right here, and here's a piece, and let's just be real clear. Y'all remember what I said the other day about the Revolt Summit that took place, why I said it makes no sense to have a Candace Owens or Katrina Pearson on that panel. Why? Because they're not real black conservatives. Let me be real clear. They're not real black conservatives. I know real black conservatives, okay? Chris Metzler, real black conservative. Shermichael Singleton, real black conservative. Elroy Saylor, Angela Saylor, K. Cole James, Derek Holly, Robert Pignon. I can go on and on and on. I can name you numerous folks who I know personally, okay, who are real black conservatives. These 2, they're not. You know what they are? Charlatans. They're frauds. What they desire is attention. So what they do is they say crazy, provocative things solely for the purpose of getting that attention. Go to my iPad. Here's a perfect example, okay? I typed in House Panel on White Supremacy. These are the 2 headlines. Do y'all see the 2 headlines? One from Yahoo News, one from The Hill. Candace Owens, the House Panel, White Supremacy and White Nationalism is not a problem. The Hill, Candace Owens tells Congress white nationalism not a problem for minorities in the U.S. if you actually click on the Hill story, what you will see is you will see an article that only quotes Candace Owens. That, folks, is by design. That's exactly what she wants. What she desires is attention. She wants folks talking about her. It's a money grab. It's all about how can I build my following and convince these dumb, illiterate conservatives to keep throwing money at me and I can get paid. Now, Mark Lamont Hill was tweeting today critical of something that she said, and this gentleman, Adam Badawi, tweeted back. Go to my iPad, please. This is what he said. I was there. She wasn't mentioned on the list of witnesses beforehand, nor was she receiving questions because she has literally no expertise on the subject. Later in the hearing, Republicans started ceding their time to her to let her spout. Do y'all hear me? So you had 3 real experts. What this guy's saying is they purposely kept her name off of the list. Why? Because the Republicans did not want today's hearing to be about white nationalism or white supremacy. What they desired is for Candace to come there, be a train wreck, completely take the focus off of the issue, attack Democrats, and bring up all these other issues for her that are more important than in Black America. If you want to laugh, here's her opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to testify. I want to testify just as a Black American today, and I want to first start off by saying that white supremacy is indeed real, but despite the media's obsessive coverage of
There. Matter of fact, roll that back. Roll that back. Y'all, she starts off by saying, I'm here as a Black person. So essentially what she's saying is, hell, if we're going to discuss white nationalism and white supremacy, anybody Black can come here and testify. You don't actually have to have any expertise to actually do that. No. Here are the people who were invited. First of all, one panel is Kathleen Ballou, an expert from Stanford University. Another one is Joshua Getzler from Georgetown University. Katrina Mulligan, National Security and International Policy at the Center for American Progress. The fourth one is Candace Owens, college dropout. Play it again. You're going to hear her say what her expertise is on this subject.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to testify. I want to testify just as a Black American today, and I want to first start off by saying that white supremacy is indeed real, but despite the media's obsessive coverage of it, it represents an isolated, uncoordinated, and fringe occurrence within America. It's a fringe occurrence that is being used, in my opinion, by Democrats to scare Americans into giving up their votes to a party that can no longer win based on simple ideas, which is why we're seeing so many of these hearings back to back, despite other threats that are facing this nation. I want to reiterate that point.
Okay, yeah, it's an issue, but it's really not among the top issues. This is college dropout Candace Owens providing expert testimony on white nationalism and white supremacy. This, folks, is a hearing that took place in July where Christopher Wray, the director of the Federal Bureau for Investigation, testified about the serious threat about white nationalism and white supremacy in the United States. Press play.
Between the years 2000 and 2016, the white supremacists were responsible for more homicides than any other domestic extremism movement. Now, I see the distinction you're making, homegrown versus domestic. But let me ask you, can you quantify either one of them for us?
Well, in terms of number of arrests, we have, through the third quarter of this fiscal year, had about, give or take, 100 arrests in the international terrorism side, which includes the homegrown violent extremism.
This year?
This year. But we've also had just about the same number, again, don't quote me to the exact digit, on the domestic terrorism side. And I will say that a majority of the domestic terrorism cases that we've investigated are motivated by some version of what you might call white supremacist violence, but it includes other things as well. I think the greatest terrorist threat to the homeland is the homegrown violent extremist. I will say that
These would
we
be
take domestic,
foreign-inspired,
which is jihadist-inspired violence. That does not mean, by any stretch of the imagination, that we don't take domestic terrorism, including hate crime committed on behalf of some kind of white supremacist ideology, extremely seriously.
Okay, so I want to go back to the nonsense Candace was spewing. I want y'all to pick up where we left off, because I want to put this in proper perspective for you. That was the director of the FBI testifying to the Senate in July of this year. Go ahead and play Clueless Candace.
Is real, but neither of these ideologies are real in this room. They have become mechanisms for the left to continue to call these hearings and to distract from much bigger issues that are facing this country and which threaten minorities. Much bigger issues. Here is the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, in March, laying out the persistent and pervasive threat of white nationalism and white supremacy in the United States.
How would you describe the danger to public safety that is posed by white supremacist extremism? Is it changing in its qualities or in the kinds of resources that the FBI and other law enforcement agencies need to respond? And secondly, the second part to that question, your budget request does not mention white supremacist extremism at all. How much funding and how many employees are dedicated to investigating white nationalists and white supremacist extremists in your fiscal year 2020 budget? So what is the danger to the country, and what do you need to fight it?
Well, the danger, I think, of white supremacist violent extremism or any other kind of violent extremism is, of course, significant. We assess that it's a persistent, pervasive threat. We tackle it both through our joint terrorism task forces on the domestic terrorism side, as well as through our civil rights program on the criminal side through hate crime enforcement. I think as to whether I would see any significant difference or trend there, I think, or whether it's changing, I think I would say in general, domestic terrorism in this country has changed in the sense that it's less structured, less organized, fewer groups, more uncoordinated one-off individuals as opposed to some structured hierarchy, and that presents its own share of challenges.
Now, you might say, well, Roland, what was the whole point of Candace Owens being the only black person there testifying on this issue? This 44-second soundbite in the end will really explain it.
Issues that they are responsible. Number one, father absence. Number two, the education system and the illiteracy rate. Illegal immigration ranks high. Abortion ranks high. White supremacy and white nationalism, if I had to make a list again of 100 things, would not be on it. This hearing, in my opinion, is a farce. And it is ironic that you're sitting here and you're having 3 Caucasian people testify and tell you what their expertise are. Do I know what my expertise are? Black in America. I've been black in America my whole life, all 30 years, and I can tell you that you guys have done the exact same thing every 4 years ahead of an election cycle, and it needs to stop.
No, stay with it.
Now we go to Mr. Clay for 5.
No, go back. That right there explains why the Republicans wanted Candace Owens to testify. Because the Republicans on this committee don't want to deal with white nationalism or white supremacy. What they desired is to have a black woman who loves Trump to come to the hearing to bring up problems in black America, to negate white supremacy, to negate white nationalism, and that's why he has that look that was captured on his face. You need to understand game recognizes game. Now, earlier we had Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, a member of this committee, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, and others on the Democratic side, members of this committee. If you want to understand what really happened, okay, this happened before that took place. Jim Jordan came in late. They were upset because the members of Congress were actually ignoring clueless Candace. They were asking more questions of the actual experts. Here is Jim Jordan.
I did walk in a few minutes ago, and Mr. Meadows and I were visiting in the back room, and noticed that Ms. Owens, you hadn't spoke for a while. So if there's something you'd like to add to the discussion over the last few minutes, I'd be happy to yield my 4 minutes to you and let you comment. But thank you again for your outstanding testimony, for being here as our witness today.
Come back.
Thank you for that.
See, I don't need to play any more of Candace Owens. What did he just say? Mark Meadows and I got together in the back room, and we were like, damn, ain't nobody asking her no questions. When is the last time y'all saw a member of Congress give their entire time to a witness? They get 5 minutes each. Gave his time to her. Meadows gave his time to her. Y'all need to understand the game here. But I'm going to go back and play something for you. This is what clueless Candace said as to what she thinks are the most important issues that impact black people.
Number one, father absence. Number two, the education system and the illiteracy rate. Illegal immigration ranks high. Abortion ranks high. White supremacy and white nationalism, if I had to make a list again of 100 things, would not be on it. This hearing, in my opinion, is a farce.
So here's the real issue here. The real issue is that this House hearing on white nationalism and white supremacy was really only limited to the issue of terror. Because if you wanted a real discussion about white supremacy, then the very issue that Candace wants to bring up, white supremacy, plays a role in that. Just the other day, the University of Texas, a story was done by The Atlantic where they discovered in the archives of the University of Texas that they, by design, implemented standardized tests in the 1950s in order to keep black people out of the University of Texas. The president of the University of Texas literally said in a speech in Houston, the use of standardized tests was a way to keep the niggers out of the university. So, when a Candace Owens wants to talk about education and illiteracy, oh, we can have that conversation within the framework of white supremacy. They don't want to do that. If you want to talk about fathers not being in the home, I am more than happy in the year of the 400th anniversary of the first 29 Africans arriving on these shores to talk about the role that America, white supremacy, played in cutting babies out of the wombs of black mamas. If you want to talk about abortion, Candace, we can talk about America's abortion. If you want to talk about this whole issue of black fathers not being there, we can also bring up the studies that show that black men actually spend more time with their children than other races. If you want to talk about the issue of white supremacy on the impact of federal policy that gave more money to mothers who were in homes without fathers, because the policy then was that you only had one person bring in income and not the other, we can be more than willing to have that conversation. But see, that's a different level of white supremacy, because I don't think you really want to talk about that. She also mentioned, y'all, white supremacy and black-on-black crime. You want to talk about white supremacy and black-on-black crime? Sure. We can show you impacted areas in Chicago based upon federal housing guidelines that limited where black folks can live, where they could actually buy homes. And so all of a sudden you had in Chicago, west side of Chicago, south side of Chicago, black folks packed into areas. Same thing in Detroit and Houston and other places around the country. See, all those things were a result of white supremacy. And so if we want to have the real white supremacy conversation, you're right, it didn't happen on today's panel, but you also were not there, clueless Candace, to have that conversation. The reason I need y'all to understand this is because some of y'all might be saying, well, why are you giving her so much attention? Because I need to explain to y'all what the game is. And here is the game. The game is for white Republicans to put up a black face to attack and trash Democrats, including black Democrats, and then to say, oh, but the conservative agenda is really what's great for black people. So what happens is that shit-eating grin Jim Jordan had is because that's what it's all about. It's all about, I need you to use the right talking points that's going to push them back. Remember the point where she said, oh, how dare it you have 3 white experts and I'm the only black person here? Because you're not an expert. And in fact, I really don't have a problem if there are 3 white people there who are experts on white supremacy, because the operative word in white supremacy is white. So to have 3 white folks talk about white supremacy, I ain't got a problem with, because they're also white. Y'all, Republicans don't really want to talk about this stuff. What they want to do is offer a game of mirrors. This is a house of cards. And so what they have done is take a black woman who oh my goodness, she's articulate, she's cute, she can speak to the issues. Somebody hears her, oh my goodness, white conservatives go, she's so smart. I mean, look at her, she's feisty, she's giving it to them. But they really don't want to break these things down. Why is that? Because they prefer the show. Candace Owens only wants a show, which is why she wants to debate John Legend and debate Don Cheadle and debate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and debate Ilhan Omar. That's what she wants. She wants the attention. And that's what they actually gave her. The Republicans did not want this to actually be a discussion on white supremacy and white nationalism and the impact. They don't want to have a discussion about Dylan Roof or the guy who went to the synagogue in Pittsburgh. They don't want to have a conversation about the white guy in El Paso. No, they would rather have a black woman who's not an expert, who's a college dropout, who loves to trash the NAACP, and then who, of course, got a $35,000 settlement from the Stanford, Connecticut School Board of Education because of insults that were hurled at her, which the NAACP actually helped her get. It's amazing how that happens. But again, if you want to understand game, I'm going to play this last soundbite for you, and it really is, for me, the most laughable of the day. This, folks, is a soundbite of a Republican in Congress, Congressman Keller, literally asking Candace Owens, what can I say to black people?
I'll be speaking at the NAACP annual state convention in Louisiana 1 week from tomorrow. Could be argued that I'm a quite unlikely keynote speaker at that gathering. But I shall deliver a candid and unscripted message from my heart and from bended knee as an American that recognizes that our nation has suffered a failure of spirit, that our nation is on a journey. I would ask you, madam, in my remaining time, what message would you hope to hear me deliver to my brothers and sisters in Louisiana 1 week from tomorrow? An address which I believe should be reflective of our effort as a nation to bridge the divides that falsely separate us, to embrace the fact that we're created in God's own image. What message would you have me share, good lady? And I shall listen.
That's a beautiful question. I would say if I was in that audience, what I would want to hear is just a message of hope. I think that what's been taken away from Black America is our sense of pride. We've allowed rhetoric and policies to tether us to the government. And I love that you opened your statement talking about God and the family, because those were the things that we used to value first and foremost in the Black American community. And as government grew in the 1960s, all of that was pretty much taken away from us. I would remind them to consider who...
I'm done. How about this, Congressman Keller? When you go before the NAACP, I would love for you to explain to them in Louisiana, why is it that your party supports voter suppression? I would love for you to explain to the NAACP why the Trump administration is rolling back civil rights in various departments in this nation. I would love for you to explain why the Republican Party chooses to be the prostitute of the NRA and not know anything about gun control. I would love for you to speak to the issue of economics and why is it that the Republican Party and Donald Trump is trying to get rid of the National Minority Supplier Development Council, which has been around for 50 years, which is the only federal agency that deals with how to grow businesses among minorities. I would love for you to talk about those issues. I noticed Candace didn't bring those issues up. Why? Because those are things Republicans are doing. Folks, you need to realize that the purpose of a Candace Owens is to give cover to white conservatives who have been wanting to say these things about black people for a very long time. That's the game. In fact, I just saw a tweet from a person who's a white conservative out of Texas, and then pull it up, Taylor Ham, covers sports for Texas A&M, and they have a soundbite here where he goes, I think this qualifies as a mic drop, where she ripped into this person here who's on the panel. What I need y'all to understand is that is the game. It is about a money game. And I will tell you this again. In our community, we've always had black Republicans. They've always existed. 4 and 5 and generations of black Republicans. I have known Alphonso Jackson, former Secretary of HUD, Mike Williams, who prosecuted white supremacists when he was in the Department of Justice. I know folks like Michael Steele. I named so many others, but there's a reason why they will not bring them to the fore. Because these are black people who actually work with black people. Candace does it. She wants a celebrity. And so when she's on the stage with T.I., on the stage with Killer Mike, that's exactly what she wants. Because it's about entertainment. It's the show. It's about securing the bag. There are black Republicans out there who actually care about black people. And we have a difference of opinion when it comes to political party. We might have a difference of opinion when it comes to what policies. But what I can say is I have respect for them because they actually care. And even if we disagree on certain issues, we agree on others. Game recognizes game. So today really wasn't about Candace. It was really about the embarrassment of the Republican Party, unwilling to deal with an issue like white supremacy and white nationalism. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, November 7th through 11th, we're going to be in Los Cabos, Mexico for the Life Lux Jazz, the second annual Life Lux Jazz Experience. It's going to be phenomenal. We're going to have, of course, great music over 4 days, golf and spa. We're going to sit here and, man, you talk about food, you talk about libations, also known as liquor. It's going to be loads of fun. So while people are freezing in the Northeast, let's go hang out in Mexico. I'm going to be doing Roland Martin Unfiltered from there that Thursday and Friday in front of a studio audience. Y'all can all come join us. So come hang out with me and so many others. It's going to be absolutely great, of course. We're going to be at Day Club Los Cabos, nestled on the Sea of Cortez. They're in Los Cabos. The great people we got lined up for you, folks. Amazing. Of course, comedian and actor Mark Curry. Of course, Gerald Albright, my frat brother, Alex Bouillon, Raul Madan, Incognito, Pieces of a Dream, Kirk Whalum, Average White Band. We're going to have the gospel experience with Donnie McClurkin, Shalea, Roy Ayers, Tom Brown, Ronnie Laws, Ernest Quarles. Some new hotels have opened up. For more information, go to lifeluxjazz.com. That's lifeluxjazz.com, lifeluxejazz.com. You want to book it now, of course, to get your package, but also you want to have much cheaper airfare as well. And so, trust me, it's going to be an absolute fun time. I cannot wait to go, and trust me, you want to do it as well. lifeluxjazz.com. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, I want to bring this up here. And so y'all know how I feel about that truly stupid and ignorant Candace Owens, who made some of the most illogical, nonsensical comments regarding the case of Ahmaud Arbery, trashing him, saying black folks, why y'all, he was stealing, wasn't jogging. Well, things got a little heated on social media in the last 24 hours, where a group of black conservatives have actually been standing up and called her comments out. It's been real interesting, Malik, seeing this back and forth take place with this one sister who's a conservative named Sonny Johnson. And she, of course, has been battling with Candace on this. And what was interesting is that these black conservatives, what they laid out is that they said that point blank, they condemned her particular comments. I just think, I'm going to pull up their whole statement in a second. But can somebody just explain to me why you have black conservatives like Candace who, anytime it's dealing, just won't call white folks out for nothing, but will trash black people for raising a big stink about the Ahmaud Arbery case. Here's the deal, Malik. If black people didn't say jack, those two guys are still sitting at home. If black folks said nothing about Breonna Taylor, guess what? Nothing happens. And so what's up with some of your fellow black conservatives who have more vitriol towards black people who fight for justice than the white folks who are defending Arbery?
So we're going to... This is what I'll say. As someone who was a lifelong Democrat until I voted for Donald Trump, it's a lot of, and I appreciate a lot of the black conservatives who are coming out condemning her remarks. I condemn her, not her remarks. I condemn her. And I actually wrote a piece on that condemning her remarks. Condemning her. And
how do you condemn her but not her remarks? I don't understand that.
No, well, let me clear that up. What I was saying is that people are condemning her remarks. I condemn Candace Owens and what Candace Owens actually stands for as it relates to growing the black conservative movement. Now, Candace Owens has been this way forever. And people say, she is definitely one of the most visible black conservatives that we have out of there. But for all intents and purposes, Candace Owens is a Trump supporter. Candace is not, I understand what she's doing with the whole Brexit movement, but for all intents and purposes, Candace Owens is a Trump supporter. Whether or not she'll be around after Trump leaves, I don't know.
But wait, I'm trying to understand the distinction. So what you're saying, you're saying she's not a black conservative, she's a Trump supporter. But wait a minute, you just said that you were a Democrat and then you voted for Trump. So aren't you a Trump supporter and not a black conservative?
Absolutely. And actually, in my case, and the distinction that I would make between me and Candace is
hold on. I want to be clear before you make the distinction. Hold on. Wait. I just want to be clear before you make the distinction. So you're saying that you're not a black Republican or a black conservative. You're a Trump supporter. So are you still a Democrat but a Trump supporter?
Yeah. So let me finish my point. Where the distinction between me and Candace is that I'm actually out there trying to bring people into the Republican Party. Candace, and she's admitted to it, Candace, she wants to move people away from the Democratic Party. I want to increase the numbers of people in the Republican Party. Until today, and I don't know, maybe it'll change tomorrow, Candace at no point has that been her focus. So when I say that Candace Owens is a Trump supporter, I think a lot of us, people just in America in general, they kind of take on the mantle of being a black conservative. Well, what does that mean? If you ask people what does being a black conservative mean, a lot of them really don't have answers. And because I've had these conversations with many people who now consider themselves a black conservatives, what they're really talking about is that they actually support Donald Trump. That doesn't mean that they are not conservative, but as for my purposes, Candace is totally different from a lot of those people, and the people that you saw in the op-ed, the article that you're talking about. A lot of those people are actually involved in the movement to bring more people into the party. I'm not sure that that's Candace's goals. Again, I understand what she's doing with Blexit, but I'm not sure that's Candace's goal. I've criticized Candace over and over and over again because I think that what Candace does, and as I wrote today, when she makes comments as she does, what happens is that there's an anvil that we have to wear around our necks when trying to defend the party against people just like her. But make no mistake, and I'll just say this very quickly, make no mistake, Candace is in a long line of Black people who have done this, whether they consider themselves Black conservatives, Black Republicans, or whatever. Candace didn't start this game. She's probably the biggest that we've had in this age of social media, but Candace didn't start this game. And you can look at the Republican Party itself, Black Republicans in the party, Black conservatives in the party, they participated in this. So the same people who are actually paying Candace's, depositing money into her bank account, many of these other conservatives have benefited from those same entities.
Okay, so you're now a Black Republican.
I've been a Republican.
No. That's why I was trying. It was all over the place. I was trying to just understand what on the deal what's going on. Okay, all right.
I've always, and anyone who knows me, when they ask what am I or whatever, I always actually reference that I'm a Republican because that's what I am, and I'm interested in bringing people into the Republican Party. That's exactly what I am.
Okay, here's a statement. Eugene Craig, of course, appears on our show often. He's the author of this statement. Black conservative statement on Candace Owens tweets. We, the undersigned Black conservative leaders, unequivocally condemn the hate-filled and destructive words tweeted and spoken by Candace Owens in the freest county on the face of the earth. I think that meant country. In the freest country on the face of the earth, no Black man deserves to be gunned down like a dog in the street. Blackness is not a weapon. Blackness is not a threat. The words spoken by Candace are not reflective of the Black conservative movement and should be universally condemned by the broader conservative movement and all who support freedom and liberty. Her words provide shield and cover for these type of incidents to continue. This is not the role of the Black conservative. Our hearts go out to Ahmaud. Actually, Ahmaud is misspelled. Ahmaud Arbery's family, and we continue to lift them in prayer. Black men and women have a right to live freely in this country. We all have a responsibility to protect that right. We have a responsibility to condemn, her hate-filled and inaccurate tweets and statements. The thing, Kelly, that was interesting about this, again, is that you immediately see, and this is where, so this segment is not, this ain't all about Candace. I don't give a damn because she's stupid. She dumb, and other people who follow her dumb too. But what you find is, who are the people who are the quickest to stand with the two men who killed Ahmaud Arbery? White conservatives. Mm-hmm. You think back to Zimmerman. Now, there have been conservatives, white conservatives, who said this is foul. Eric Erickson was like, I don't care what none of y'all say. I don't care if he was looking inside of a house. That is not licensed to shoot and kill this man. But when you look at these people who are the most vocal saying, oh, first y'all was saying hands up, don't shoot. Now y'all saying he was just jogging. It's real interesting. The people who most are likely to side with Travis and George McMichael are white conservatives.
I mean, it's not so interesting when you look at the history of the conservative movement and why people switched from being Democrats to conservatives back in the late 50s, early 60s during the civil rights movement, going from Dixiecrats to Republicans and the like. But what I will say is specifically when it comes to Black conservatism, I am not part of that number, but I have observed that based off of the ideologies of my friends who are, I would be hard-pressed to consider a Black person who considers themselves conservative or Trump supporter to be true Republicans, because Trump himself does not align with the ideologies that I know of the Republican Party. So when Candace Owens saying, you know, like, I agree with Malik to an extent when he said that Candace is a Trump supporter, but that's the only extent to which I will agree with Malik on this case, because her aligning with Trump, just by way of what Trump has done these past couple years and how his ideologies have come to light, I would venture to say that he's not truly a Republican. I would also venture to say that white supremacists aren't necessarily Republican, they're just not Democrat. And that's the problem with a bicameral party system, is that if you don't agree with one, it's kind of like you have to go to the other if you want your voice to be heard. And that's where we get a lot of conflating ideology. That's where we get a lot of false narratives when it comes to these parties and their ideologies. Because when you look at conservatism and when you look at the Republican Party and what their ideologies are, it's not that of Donald Trump. It's just conservative.
Well,
Donald Trump is in a class of his own.
Well, and I think, but it's like the point I raised, Amisha, about the NRA. Will they stand with, I mean, they're supposed to all about, you know, licensed gun owners and Second Amendment and defend yourself, but they are very much pro-cop. In the case of this brother in Louisville, okay, you're the NRA. Same thing I said when John Crawford was killed in that Walmart in Ohio. All right, NRA, show what y'all really stand for. And the reality is they're more likely to stand for conservative ideals. And this is when black people say, hold up, if y'all supposedly real, where are you on this one right here? And in this case here, automatically it's white conservatives and some blacks sitting there running behind this case. And to Malik's point, you got black conservatives who are like, yo, what the hell? What the hell? But what it's showing, Amisha, is showing you might think y'all in this thing together, but y'all ain't in this thing together. You might be black and conservative. They might be white and conservative, but your ass still black, Amisha.
Absolutely. And I think that that is one of the most salient points of all, because at the end of the day, whether somebody chooses to be a black conservative because of the era of Trump and their grifters, like what we've seen from Candace Owens, or if they are a hardline conservative following all the conservative principles, you can never be conservative enough to erase your skin color or the burden that comes along with it. That is where we are in America. So Candace saying completely ridiculous things and comparing this death to the many deaths that she counted in black on black crime, and, you know, calling out LeBron James and going down a whole litany of ridiculousness to try to substantiate why a young man would literally be hunted down by two white men in a pickup truck with guns circa what? 1800s, 1952. We haven't seen this in America in a really long time, but somehow she thought that she was in a place to make a justification for it. That's a problem. I do applaud to a certain extent the black conservatives who felt it necessary to come out and say something this time, but Candace Owens has railed against black people for a long time. She has literally cast a name for herself by throwing all types of negativity on the black population. She is what the Republican Party has wanted for a very long time. Someone who looked like a black person, someone who spoke like a black person, someone who couldn't walk into a room and be mistaken as anything other than a black person, but someone who could also sell talking points of whiteness, talking points of racism, and it go over well. And now she's reached a point where people are calling her out, finally.
The thing here, again, Malik, at the end of the day, your ass might be as conservative as you want to be, but you black. Hell, we don't know who Ahmaud Arbery voted for. We don't know any of that, but what we do know is he dead. And what we do know is the people who are standing with the individuals who shot him, who are trying to tear him down, are largely white conservatives, and then you got that fool Candace and others. But again, but this is where it don't matter. It's the same thing. Look, Cleo, others on this show, brothers and sisters who are same gender loving will say, yeah, we gay, but you white gay, I'm black gay. You black conservative, I'm white conservative, yeah, but you black, still white. The reality is, White is still the operative word in white conservative is white.
It's white.
Born black, will die black. Go die black. That's exactly what it is. And what I've seen now, and I've been kind of witnessing over the past year or so, what I've seen now is that people have said, and it's usually, well, it's the number of conservatives that I've seen come out and speak out against it, the black conservatives, you know, this is a long time overdue. And like Amisha said, this isn't Candace's first time at the rodeo. It's just that this is the first time you've actually seen people willing to come out and criticize her. And the reason that they have not is because of what you said, Roland. So those white conservatives that you talk about, and I will say that I've met awesome white conservatives out there, absolutely awesome white conservatives. But the ones that Candace appeals to, where she appeals to their racism, their prejudice, and their bigotry, those are the people that you're talking about. The ones that will get on social media and say, well, what about black on black crime? Before the ink was dry, Candace came out of Twitter jail and started attacking Ahmaud. That's exactly what she did immediately when she came out of Twitter jail. And then she tried to kind of backtrack it and say, well, there may be other things. No, she did it because she does it because these are the people who pay her paychecks. And so that's what she has to continue to do. I don't know. And I've heard people say, well, you know, that we have a big tent. Yes, the conservative Republican Party has a very big tent, conservatives, whatever, very big tent. But for my purposes, Candace Amber Owens does not speak to me or any of my conservatism. She just doesn't.
Every single night, we've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he's the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Sadrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Salt, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward. Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris. Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Bradeboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she's a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolandra Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, president, Emerita Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon McDougall, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi, Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You getting the top medical experts, the top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. What's interesting about this is that, for the most part, you got these white conservatives lining up behind the McMichaels, but you got a few black folks who've done that. Well, last night, a group of these Blexit black conservatives, or call themselves black conservatives, had a Zoom debate. Let's just say it got a little crazy, a little heated. You get this dude, Brandon Tatum, former cop, thinking like a cop, not thinking like a black cop, who has put out videos. And here's what's very interesting. Here's a guy who puts a video out trying to offer the facts of the Arbery case. It's almost gotten 2 million views in only a handful of days. Trust me, those are not black people who are watching that video. Well, things got a little rough in this Zoom conversation. Here is an excerpt.
Question for Brandon. I personally came on here for this question. Brandon, I've spoken to you before. I think you're a great guy, and this is why I'm concerned about what's going on now. I mean, I think you know that a lot of us, for example, in other cases that, of course, other black people have definitely pushed back on when we talk about it. For example, when people were kneeling during the football games, I didn't think that was right. And I was very vocal about that I'm proud of my flag and proud of America. But there are certain cases that are so clear cut, like, for example, Philando Castile. Most people, well, even if they go back later and look at it, know that it was a very clear-cut case and it was wrong. And then looking here in this issue, I don't agree. You said you don't agree? That it's so clear-cut that it's something that we can bring out and say as in unison, you know what? This is when it's wrong. Because what we get all the time is people saying that we never talk about racism when it actually exists. We talk about racism is everywhere. And I personally will say, and I will say that over and over again, I will call out people who make everything about race, because that's not true. But it's also not true when it is very obvious when something is maybe, you know what? Not even on this case, if it's not even about race, right? If Arbery were a white man and I saw that video, I would be just as horrified because that man did not deserve to die. Period.
Nobody said he did, though. I don't know. I'll give you $1,000 if you see anybody that said that man deserved to die. But you know what you usually do when you know that something is wrong? You stand up for the person who was the victim. And that's the problem that we're not seeing. Laquan McDonald. Did you make a video about Laquan McDonald? Did you make a video about Laquan McDonald? We're not seeing in this case. No. Did you make a video about Laquan McDonald? Can I finish what I'm saying? I'm saying you're just making up stuff. No, how am I making up stuff? I made a video about Laquan McDonald's death at the hands of a police officer that shot him 12 times. Clearly, it was wrong. I made a whole video about how that was wrong. Okay, can we go back? How am I not defending? Can I finish my statement on the Arbery, Brandon? I'm just saying, in this case, it seems that what it looks like is that you're going out of your way for people who are trying to be compassionate to really, I mean, we're always the ones who are going, oh, let's wait for the facts to come out, okay? And that is why a lot of people feel like we're heartless. But in situations where it's so clear-cut, 3 months after the fact it happened, that you continue to say, let's look at the facts, and the facts are coming out hour after hour in the media, and it's been actually justified by the Georgia Bureau. It's not justified. Why would we talk about the facts in that sense just as much as you talk about the facts in the other sense? Look, it's irrelevant. It is ironic. It is ironic. No, it's not. It's ironic that all of these cases that we see, people are involved in criminal activity. It's never, he said it's never a case where a person that just doing nothing is just gunned down. All these people have an extensive criminal history. Why is that important? Why is that important? Do you not think that's strange?
So if
No,
Shelley Luther,
just because you had a criminal past doesn't mean that you deserve to lose your life.
It's funny because
that is relevant in the case that's at play.
You know, here's the thing.
I gotta go.
They're quick to run and grab that talking point of Biden and Hillary Clinton. You know, created the. You know,
I'm gone, man.
Crime bill. They created
you
the crime bill.
You the fakest nigga I ever seen in my life.
They created the crime bill.
I see you in person.
They created the crime bill.
They created what you said. I'm done, bro. You a fake nigga. I hope everybody see that.
I appreciate
fake, bro. I'm gonna expose you to everybody. And when I see you, nigga, we gonna be. It's gonna be on. I want you to know that because you call me on the phone and you saying all this, and then you get on the live stream and you playing this shit. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Is that black on black crime? Is that black on black crime?
You's a bitch. I told you. Everybody on your live stream know you's a bitch, and when I see you, I'm whooping your ass. Everybody got your live stream.
I like it.
You want to be hood, nigga? You want to be hood? You on the phone talking shit to me, and you call me and saying you apologize? Yeah, nigga.
I never apologized.
You apologize?
I never
You didn't
apologized.
apologize. My wife listened to you, nigga.
I never apologized. What I said was.
Bitch, nigga.
Let's wrap this up.
So the brother you heard who was cussing another brother out, that's Brandon Tatum. Very close with Candace Owens. Used to work with Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk. Frequent visitor to the White House. Loves himself some Donald Trump. And that's how they were talking amongst black conservatives. See, so what happened is the brother who was in the top corner, I think he'd go by Hotep Jesus. Okay, that's what he goes by. So he basically was saying, Brandon, why y'all parroting white conservatives? How is it that you're giving them the talking points? And see, that's really what we're seeing a lot of, Reese. You got these people who are Trump supporters, like a Tatum. Candace Owens came out of Twitter jail, just blasting away, basically saying, y'all don't say nothing about black on black violence. Y'all don't care about black people. Now y'all are mad. She was the first one trying to say Ahmaud Arbery was out there thieving. And trust me, the white conservatives are sitting there loving it. See, if you want to know how to game, just go to Brandon's YouTube channel. His videos, they show you'll see. Giving that money. Yeah. Giving that money. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people when we expose these folks for who they are. Okay? I know a whole bunch of black conservatives who are third and fourth and fifth generation black Republicans. These folks are Trump grifters. Not everybody in that video, but folks like Brandon Tatum, that's what you're dealing with. Folks like him, what you're dealing with is that they have come of age in this Trump. You got Lawrence Jones up there. You see him running his mouth on Fox News. He be saying some nonsense as well. The sister we tried to Okafor, we invited her on the show. We couldn't reach her. But the bottom line is here. I've had different people on here, like this dude, R.C. Maxwell, whatever the hell his name is, out there, his usual, they nonsense. You call it what it is, and they're the ones who are claiming, they're leading black people out of the Democratic Party. Well, if you following a fool like Brandon Tatum, you can be going over a cliff.
Right. I mean, I don't know any of these people, to be frank with you. I've never heard of them. I don't know them. But I don't like what I see from that clip. And I watched some of their discussion. I was disgusted watching it. My husband has a saying. He says that some black people, I'm going to put the some in front of it, but some black people are the foot soldiers of white supremacy. And that's what these Trump conservative grifters are. When you perpetuate these stereotypes, when you sit up there and regurgitate these talking points to try to criminalize an innocent black man who was doing absolutely nothing wrong, it's disgusting. And the way that Brandon turned up in that video, there are white folks that would shoot his ass for doing that much, okay? And so, they want to parrot these things about, you have to, conduct yourself a certain way. And look how he was turning up and N-word this and N-word that. It's ridiculous. If he had come across some of these white folks that they're defending, his ass would be shot dead, just like all these other black people that they have absolutely no compassion for, who did far less than what he did in that video.
You put your head down, Greg.
Brother, that's 3 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back.
You know, Daniel Dresner wrote a book a couple of years ago called The Ideas Industry. And he talks about how over the last generation or so, what we've shifted from is the idea of public intellectuals. On the white side, you might think of a Daniel Patrick Moynihan. On the black side, you might think of a Wyatt T. Walker or a Paulie Murray or a Dorothy Cotton or, you know, you name it, or Ron Walters. People who are informing policymakers, or in terms of social movements, let's expand it to an Ella Jo Baker or a Septima Clark, informing social movements. He says we've shifted from that to what they call thought leaders. Well, that's not that meaning people who generate clicks, clickbait generators, eyeball attractors. They're not really impacting policy if they're unattached to institutions. So now you see people like the whole Fox network crew, Sean Hannity, thought leader, meaning what? He is supported and subsidized by a media institution that allows him to spew his nonsense, and then people do act on that, including at this point the President of the United States. What we just witnessed is the convergence of the thought leader move in our society with the explosion of social media. The reason we don't know any of these people, or the reason you keep track of them, because you have to. You're helping us filter this stuff. But for those of us who would never watch something like that, first of all, anybody calling themselves Hotep Jesus or Uncle Hotep has opened their mouth, as my mom would say, and put their brain on display. I would brand. No, I wouldn't do that, because the word Hotep, I said I was going to say I would brand the glyph in their forehead, but the word Hotep in the Medu Neter in Egyptian hieroglyphs literally means peace. So I should probably back off of that. But my point is that you've got people now, and a mind, remember that UNCF commercial back in the 70s, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. A mind is a terrible thing to underdevelop, because now everybody with a phone or a laptop can get on social media. Anybody who wants to talk can talk. These are not thought leaders. These are people generating clicks for clickbait, nor are they conservatives. They are branders. And so finally, what you started with is all we need to know about that conversation. It's very basic. This is about money. This is about watching them. This is about generating revenue. None of them have anything to say about anything that's going to either A, impact policy, or B, change the minds of anyone who will take a minute to reflect, to organize, to study, and to act in an informed manner. So that was a sideshow better for WWF wrestling. That's why he's talking about beating somebody's ass, which he ain't going to do.
So here's why I showed that, Erica, because again, these are the people Fox News elevates. I just need people to understand what the whole design is. Okay? Fox Nation, now they just dropped them. In no logical world would a TV executive give Diamond and Silk a show. It's a minstrel show.
That's
absolutely.
But what do but what do they set up? You take a Candace Owens who worked with the NAACP to get a settlement from a school district. TPUSA hires her. She's now in PragerU. Trump has her at the White House. 1 million followers. All these stories done on her. All like this great mass movement leader of black people away from the Democratic Party. But who is elevating her?
That's right.
Is there anything between those two ears? No. There's a reason why she will not debate me, been running for a whole year. But she'll challenge John Legend and Don Tito, people like that. And there are people out there who say, Roland, but we should ignore them. This is why that's not that simple. Mm-hmm. Because you have to understand how they are strategically used to serve different interests. Mm-hmm. Trump does the exact same thing. That crazy, ignorant comedian, I don't know he ain't even funny, Terrence Williams, same thing. You gotta understand, to Greg's point, the minstrel show and the grifter show. You gotta understand how they play this whole game and how they then elevate, these are the black people we should be listening to. So therefore, how they prop them up, they do their books in their speeches, and then that thing keeps going on and on. That's why you have a Larry Elder who will write a book called Stupid Black Men.
Yes.
He ain't trying to talk to black people. He's talking to white people. He's talking to white conservatives. And that's the game that you see being played. And that's why we call it out so folks understand. And let me be clear. There are black conservatives we have on this show who are real, who do care about the black community. We might differ on some policy issues. We might agree on some policy issues. There's a long history of black people being Republicans, okay? You could talk about Jackie Robinson. You could talk about any number of people. You can talk about folks who've served in Republican administrations. Bob Brown, who accompanied Coretta Scott King to pick up Dr. King's body.
Come on.
Who was on the board of the SCLC, goes from there to getting hired by Richard Nixon, and who played a crucial role in terms of driving things for black people. Just because he worked for Nixon didn't make him bad. So that happens. There are black people who worked in different administrations who've done that. Alfonso Jackson, the Secretary of HUD under George W. Bush. I know Alfonso well. Again, we might differ on some issues, but agree on some other issues. These folks, the Brandon Tatums of the world, the Candace Owens of the world, they can't even step in the same room with those black Republicans. It's understanding the game, Erica.
Absolutely, Roland. And you laid it out. What's being presented for the public is information. And what they have yet to find out is that acquiescence to whiteness is not protection. It does not preclude any of the injustices that we have seen for years and years from happening to them. And since we're dropping gems, I'll drop something that my late Big Mama said to us, which is when you open your mouth, you remove all doubt. And so for Brandon Tatum, the moment I had to click off is when he began to invoke the name of George Zimmerman and O.J. Simpson, and then go on to, as you shared in that clip, talk about the people that have been victims of criminal activity by the people that executed, lynched them, that they had criminal background. You're talking about a black man, a person that is black, that is a former law enforcement officer. I'm very concerned about what his history was when he was on the police force, with the type of aggression that we saw in that video, with a muscle tight shirt on with the face of Donald Trump. So we do have to look at the Minstrel show. We do have to have this type of information so that we can be even more engaged in understanding grifters and knowing that all of our skin folk damn sure ain't our kinfolk.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, fam, to all Roland Martin VIPs, you are invited to the Laugh Experience, taking place this Friday, May 15th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern at seek.com. That's CEEK.com. Join me and let's laugh with comedian D.L. Hughley, Chris Spencer, D.L. Hughley, Chris Spencer, Bodacious, Ryan Davis, and Clint Coley. It's a first-of-its-kind virtual comedy show on Seek.com. Seek.com, remember, y'all, is the black website created by this sister. Y'all. You can watch it on your phone, your laptop, even in virtual reality. Now, I'll be there, and I hope you will be there as well. Now, remember, we had Mary on the show, of course, the creator of Seek. She also is the one who created her own VR headset. So they have these available at Seek.com. And so it's real simple. I was actually testing this out a couple of nights ago. Actually, it's pretty cool. And so just go ahead and zoom out, Anthony. And so it's real simple. You take your phone with this head. Now, there's some VR headsets where you can actually connect to the web and stuff along those lines. But this one here, what it allows for you to do is, so you actually have you go to the Seek app, and so you can pull it up here, right here on your phone. And then what you do is you place your phone right into the VR headset, close it up, and then you're able to then put this on. And so what's going to happen is you put this VR headset on. Y'all, what's so cool about this is that it literally looks like you're in the room. So what's going to happen is they'll be live, and so you can sit here and you can look all around. You can look at the ceiling all around. It's going to be pretty cool. The first time ever, again, a virtual reality comedy showcase that's taking place this Friday. And so that's what it looks like once you're inside. You get to be able to look around on the inside of this room. It's pretty cool. And so you can do this again. It's created by a sister, this device and the site as well. She also created these 360-degree sound headphones. Y'all, these are boss. Okay, Bluetooth as well as you could actually plug in. The Bluetooth creates the whole 360-degree sound, and so it's a great for gaming as well. And so if you do use these, there's a promo code. Go ahead and write this down. The promo code. This is the headset right here. These are the headphones right here. You don't have to watch the virtual comedy showcase with your headphones. You can watch it right here on your phone. It's not a problem, but it does give you a whole different experience when you're watching it in virtual reality. And so what I want you guys to do is if you want to get these headphones, get this headset here, there's a promo code that you can enter in to be able to do so. And so let me pull that promo code up. And it's been, like I say, I've been having way too much fun with this whole deal here, with these headsets. And this is called the world's first 4D 360-degree audio headphones, and of course this is the mobile VR headset, and so that's what you have here. They have a special code for our followers here at Roland Martin Unfiltered, and so we're gonna pull that up. And where is it? I thought we had it here, and so we had all these different emails back and forth, and so I'm trying to find it. Promo code. All right, this is what you use. To buy the headset, to buy the headphones, go to seek.com, CEEK.com, and use RMVIP 2020. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered channel. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Yesterday, Vice President Mike Pence held a discussion at the White House with a group of African Americans about the unrest that's been going on in the country. Do y'all have the photo? Y'all have the photo? Y'all show the photo? So you see in this photo here, I see Keiko James. I think I see Angela Saylor. I see Elroy Saylor. And I don't recognize a couple other folks. Then also, Now, I had somebody, a fellow journalist, who emailed me yesterday. And she said, Roland, stop giving her attention. We should not even mention her name. We should not even bring it up. And I respectfully disagree. The reason I disagree is because of that photo. When you have somebody who is so evil and destructive in their thoughts and in their comments, and the things that they say about African Americans, and then they get called into a meeting with the Vice President of the United States, when they have stood next to the President of the United States, when they have been in meetings with the President of the United States, I don't think for a second that we can somehow be silent and ignore that level of hate. Yesterday, this hateful woman posted this on Facebook.
I want to come out and say that I do not support George Floyd and the media depiction of him as a martyr for Black America.
All right. So it was a 17-minute video, I think. That's the longest y'all pull? Actually, I wanted something longer, but that's fine. So in this video, she trashes George Floyd. She talks about his criminal history. He's not a martyr. She does say that I want the family to get justice, but she goes on to trash him. Then you got Brandon Tatum. I talked about that thuggish conservative who goes out there and he was same thing. He's posting the police reports of George Floyd online. And the thing that's important to understand is that there are no perfect victims. There are no individuals with pristine resumes. It's not always the case. Jonathan Farrell played football at Florida A&M, shot and killed by a cop in Charlotte. cop got off scot-free. Jonathan was a hard worker, good brother. He's a gospel singer in Florida. Pulled to the side of the road. Cop in an unmarked van approached him, ends up shooting him dead. That cop was convicted. I can go on and on and on. But when people like Candace Owens set out to be so destructive against African Americans, what they're actually doing is they're playing to white supremacy. See, what you have to understand is this here. There are white folks in America who love nothing more than to find a black person who would say some of the most evil and vile things about other black people. Because see, then they get to speak to black people through that black person. Oh yes, over the years, we've seen the grifters. We've seen the folks like Candace Owens, folks like Larry Elder, folks like Jesse Lee Peterson. And we could go on and on and on. Well, they trot them out to trash and attack black people and hold themselves up to be somehow these esteemed African Americans. This is the same Candace Owens who used the NAACP to get a settlement from her school district over the issue of race. But the same one now who would trash the very NAACP who stood there for her. See, I call them out because they deserve to be called out. See, if I'm going to call out Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham and Senator Rand Paul, and I'm going to call out all these other people, folks, I'm going to also call out the black folks, because everybody that's your skin folk ain't your kin folk. And do understand, there's a reason why the Candace Owens of the world and the Brandon Tatums of the world, there's a reason why they are afraid to come here. It's a reason why they are afraid when they had their little Blexit conference where our credential had gotten approved, but they then rescinded it. Because when we were sitting out in front of the White House and Candace saw me and threw an evil look at me and, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm sorry, I cover black stuff. Is this not a black event? And then she stood there in her little gray flannel outfit and she was angry. See, you called me an Uncle Tom and that's why I blocked you. First of all, she's a lie. Because see, I don't allow people to call black Republicans or black conservatives Uncle Toms or coons or sellouts or Oreos. I don't allow it. So she was lying. And I told her little minion who running behind her, he said, well, we have the evidence. I said, bring me the evidence. Y'all, we're still waiting. The reason you must always, at every point, call liars out like Candace Owens, the reason you must call out hateful, evil people who say the things that she does about black folks is because somebody else might be listening to them. There's a reason why I don't let people come on this show and lie. Because see, if you're watching this show and somebody lies on this show, you will then go, well, Roland didn't correct them, so what they said must be true. No, I don't allow it. And so I will always call out trifling folks like Candace Owens. And if I see them in person, I'll look them dead in the eye. Just like I did Charlie Kirk, who said, oh no, we'll debate one day, but I gotta go ask Candace first. See, y'all gotta understand something. When you read scripture, and you remember when evil would lose their mind and start squealing and hollering when good folk walk by? See, light and darkness do not go together. Me, I'm a big-ass spotlight against the darkness of folks like Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum. I am more than willing to debate any of them. I had Dinesh D'Souza right here. I'll welcome any of them to the table. And in fact, I'll go to their table. Pick where you want to debate. pick a day, pick a time, pick a location, and I'll be there. Matter of fact, y'all can pack the place with all your supporters. I'll slay each one of them the entire night. But we as black folks who understand what's moral and just can never be silent when evil is in our midst, and even when they look like one of us. Any thoughts, Wendy, Rob, or Derek?
Mr. Martin, well, I'll say thank you, Mr. Martin, for allowing me to be on your show.
Wendy.
Yeah. So, you know, I find the whole phenomenon of Candace Owens to be interesting because it's not just her making these comments, it's what she represents. I have been on Fox News several times and I have called her out and said, I am willing to debate you, because she never goes into an argument or a conversation without being checked, so to speak. And I think that that's really important. And I'm glad that you're saying her name, because we need to know that she's pandering and lies. And the thing with Candace Owens I think is so important and we all need to know is that she is a pawn. She is being used as a pawn in the chess game that is politics and the chess game that is issues of race in this country. So I understand that people need to get their coin. I get it. But if you are selling your soul to secure a bag, then you need to really check yourself, because you're selling out the very people who, as Roland mentioned, saved you when you needed us. So don't expect when these white people turn their back on you, because they will. They will. It's only a matter of time. They will do you the same way they did Diamond and Silk. When they're done using and abusing you, they're going to throw you to the trash. Do not come to us to save you. Period.
Rob?
I'm done.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys covered it. I'll just say that, you know, she clearly doesn't love herself. She doesn't love black people. And she will do anything to make money, and she'll do anything and say anything. She figures out what's the furthest I can go, the most right-wing, the most self-hating I can go, and then take that position and go even further, because that's her business model. Her business model is to say outrageous things, do outrageous things. And I agree a little bit with what the person that said we shouldn't talk about her, because I was debating that, like, we are giving her a platform. She likes this. Yeah. She likes the fact that she can go and talk to Fox News and say, look, Roland Martin talks bad about me. Like, at the end of the day, she is nothing. She has her one skill, and she's good at it, is marketing herself and figuring out how to get in front of the cameras to say things that can resonate to a base she's looking to, the racist base that she's looking to get inflamed, or to validate their opinion. You know, she wants to make them say it's okay for you not to see George Floyd as a human. That's why it's dangerous. That's why it's dangerous.
Derek, final comment. Go.
I know. I was going to say I agree with everything you guys said, and it frustrates me because, you know, I'm in places where I hear people like, well, did you see what Candace Owens said? Did you see what Candace Owens wrote? And it's like it bothers the hell out of me, because if you have to look at her and that other dude that you just, I ain't gonna call his name out, but if you look at them two, they're the exact reasons why, they are two of the reasons why black people, in along with this president, would never ever even consider the Republican Party. And so she is, sometimes, with this, what she said about Floyd, and that's it's a disgrace. And it shines, puts a whole different, it just dampens everything that we're working for right now during this movement. And it just ain't right, man. And I'm mad that we even gave her this much time.
Nah, see, the reason I did it again is because when you get called to sit at the table of power, you can wreak havoc. And there may be a young African American, there may be a white person, a Hispanic person who hears her and goes, "Oh my God, she's making so much sense." But if there's no counter to that, then we allow it to happen.
But the problem is, Roland, that people are not going to hear the counter, because we can go through how social media works.
Rob, that ain't true.
Here's what I'm saying. Wait, just give me a second. Because social media will work where it can just go echo chamber. So the issue is, like, people will hear her, they will hear Candace Owens, and they're not going to hear you because
not true.
You're not who they want to hear.
No. Like, Rob, you're missing it. This is what you're missing. When they type her name into YouTube and the algorithm, my video will come up. See, trust me, I also know how this game works.
Yeah.
So what happens is, the part of the reason in doing this is, and I'm just using an example, when Snoop Dogg did a video and he criticized Roots, the remake of Roots, I took exception to what he had to say. And when I typed in Snoop Dogg and Roots in Google, I saw how his comments went global. I then came back and did a commentary against what Snoop Dogg said. Guess what happened to that commentary? It went global. Now, Snoop fired back at me. I didn't need to fire back again. He and I eventually talked.
Yeah.
We patched it up. But I did it because had I not done it, there would have never been a counter to what he had to say. So, sure, she's got 2 million on Facebook and, 1 million on Twitter, whatever. But here's the piece. I got 1 million on Facebook. I got 550,000 on Twitter, 481,000 on Instagram, 512,000 on YouTube. And so the point I'm making is this here. You cannot let you can't let evil or lies stand alone. See, that's what the media did with Donald Trump. What mainstream media did was, mainstream media would not check Donald Trump in the moment. If he wins, the presidency.
But Donald Trump was running for president, though. So you're making the point that I see it as a great strategic point.
It's anybody. It's anybody. Rob, you're a talk show host.
I get it.
When I had my talk show,
I the same thing. But what I'm trying to say is, I guess it's just a point of frustration that she has so much reach, and she's reaching, and she's giving so much ignorance and hate.
No. That's not. See, I ain't frustrated by that. Because I already told you what the deal is. There are white people. First of all, Candace Owens ain't black. There are white people who love the Candace Owens because she gets to say stuff they can't.
That's correct.
So that's why they support her.
She's seeing the marketplace,
That's what it is.
Right.
She's the puppet.
And when
the willing puppet.
Let me tell you something. Okay, you saw a little photo there of Pence. I know A.R. Bernard and K. Cole James and Angela Saylor and Elroy Saylor. I've had them all on the show. Guess what? They ain't calling them from certain stuff. They not calling Derek. They're not calling, because see, there's a segment of the Republican Party who adores Diamond and Silk. They love Candace Owens. They love Brandon Tatum because they love Terrence Williams. They get to sit back and watch the Minstrel show. Remember,
which is the problem.
Minstrel shows had fans.
Which is the problem with the Republican Party, which they allow and they encourage, and it used to be a dog whistle. With this president, is a horn to racists. It's a bullhorn. He's really, really clear. And so that is the problem. If the Republican Party wants to actually attract voters of color, right now they don't. Their goal right now is to figure out ways to keep black voters and other voters from voting, and just appeal to the most extreme, to racism. That has to be drowned out. And I hope for the day when the Republican Party does that, and we can take my humanity off the table. It's not a political issue, is what I said, period.
Bottom line, Derek, you never let evil stand by itself. It always has to be countered. And even if you think you're whistling in the wind, trust me, somebody will hear that whistle. That's important.
Agreed.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, we want to thank the folks with Seek.com, CEEK.com, for partnering with us. This is Mary Spio, is the creator, the innovator, the founder of this company. She, of course, designed these 4D 360-degree headphones that are absolutely amazing. We've got a partnership with them, folks. If you purchase these headphones, you can use the promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. Simply go to Seek.com. That's CEEK.com. Be sure to check it out. We thank them for partnering with us.